Welcome to Christian Statesman. I'm your host, Zach Wagner, and this is episode 87, Crony Capitalism to Collapse. GM just announced last week that they will be moving all future electric car production out of the U.S. to Mexico. This is just another nail in the coffin of the American economy as the Biden globalist syndicate, posing as our government, seeks to crater our economy in preparation for the Great Reset. There is a history lesson as to how we got here in the first place. And that history lesson has been going on for some time. What have we learned, and can we see where this is leading? The first thing we need to understand is that capitalism, the idea of a true, free, and open market, is a concept that works. It is the only way, in conjunction with available capital and private property ownership, to raise a population out of poverty and serfdom and into an avenue for self-directed prosperity. The American middle class, which is so under attack today, is proof positive that the idea works. History reminds us that an elite royalty, a ruling class that controlled all capital and property, was the norm for our ancestors. Only the American Revolution fully opened the doors for an idea of self-determination. But true capitalism operates under a few important assumptions. The first assumption is that a people with the freedom to determine their own economic future will relish the responsibility and all of the hard work required to forge that future. While a few stragglers that cannot pull their weight are contained within that model, the great majority must and would, under such freedoms, rise to the opportunity. Thus we see escapees from communist systems, such as 1980s Russia, often return to a system where they do not have to labor so hard for their existence, accepting mere subsistence in lieu of prosperity. The second fundamental assumption is that government will stay out of the way, at least for the most part. It assumes that the government will create clear legal boundaries to commerce, mainly to prevent a gaming of the system, and enforce those laws consistently and fairly, thus incenting all participating in the system to play by the rules. It also assumes a minimum of market capital dedicated to government function, recognizing that capital in private hands, in the hands of motivated and ethical actors, will create larger and more diversified economic opportunity as it arises. Thus the old mantra, "I never got a job from a poor person." Operating at its ideal, capitalism creates successful and wealthy individuals who create business and commerce that spawns a newer and broader generation of employment that spurns more wealthy and successful persons, and so forth. The more capital in private hands and the less in government, the wider the net of prosperity, theoretically. But somewhere on the way to the capitalist textbook superlative, something went wrong. As we look around today, the original forms of capitalism are all but dead. We do not have limited government that stays out of the way, but rapidly expanding government that seeks to inject itself into every aspect of daily life and garner an increasing say in all affairs, public and private. We see regulation and funding designed to pick winners and losers, and the well-lobbied representatives in Washington see fit. And at a tremendous cost of taxpayer dollars to sustain the entire enterprise. Thus we see such documentable phenomena as the record profits for companies like Amazon during the COVID pandemic, concurrent with the demise of numerous local small shops and stores during the same period. The system has evolved from open capitalism in the 18th century to a perverse form of crony capitalism today. In other words, things have changed. We can no longer be considered a capitalist system. We are rapidly trending to a fascistic socialist model of operation. This never bodes well for an economy, as every socialist economy struggles and then eventually dies. Margaret Thatcher was more than pithy when she prophetically said, "The problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money." Our system is already being bled dry by untold emergency spending bills and other regulatory overreach that is threatening to melt down the very dollar itself. It is a cheap facade for socialist wealth redistribution. And so those who are elected to uphold true capitalism are the very ones destroying capitalism and then trumpeting that capitalism does not work. That this is happening to us is not debatable. We can see the evidence of it daily. the foreign outsourcing of GM being just one of numerous examples. President Trump at least stuck a finger or two into this leaking dike, but it would require many more years of reversal to set us back on a safe course. Are we savvy enough to know what is next? And will we see it through the framework of an organic series of economic events, or as the cunning device of those elites traitorous to our roots and history, determined to impose upon us the socialist handcuffs of a global world order of economic dictation? Time will tell, but it sure looks obvious to this commentator which way this ship is sailing. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe, and as always, have a wonderful day.